Welcome to How to Build a Tent, the podcast on how to make you successful. My name is Matt Williams. Thank you for listening to the show, sharing the show right now with a friend. Just give it a little share. We really appreciate that. Welcome to all the new listeners. I've been getting emails and direct messages lately of people that have just found out about my show. And I just absolutely love when you guys reach out to me. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for checking out the show. I hope that it's beneficial to you and will help you be successful in your career, starting your business or running a business that you already have, or even in investing. That's what we talk about, all those different topics. We talk about politics, economics. We talk about all these different things that when we know more about, when we think through and when we have understands, when we apply these true principles in our lives, we become successful. And that's what the show is all about. If you want to reach out to me and you're maybe a first-time listener and you just want to say, what's up? You can give me a what's up or a shout out, or I don't know, give me an email, give me a direct message at matt@howtobuildatent.com is the email address. On the social media sites, it's How to Build a Tent. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and what's the other one? Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So obvious that you forget about it. But then what I'm really excited about is Minds. Minds, if you have not heard about it, check it out. It is pretty cool because, hey, they're not censoring us. And it's nice to be in a place where people aren't censoring you unfairly, and it's just an equal and fair marketplace. You know, the Democrats talk about equality all the time, and they're trying to talk about the equality of outcomes. But the conservatives now are just saying, hey, I just want equality of starting at the same place where we're all competing for you, the listeners, equally, where we don't have people like censoring us and holding us back and letting other ideas populate. Let the ideas stand on their own and see what is true. But it's kind of funny. Some good news today. The Fed, or good news yesterday, if you're listening to this today, the Fed's decided they're keeping rates the same, and they said no matter if the economy changes, so it looks like they're trying to create a stable future so that the markets can work in a predictable market. One of the worst things to do in business or in investing or whatever you are doing, trying to predict the future, is not knowing what's going to happen or being unsure about it. And hey, that's why insurance is so popular. You're buying assurance. You're buying the protection against liability of different things happening. If it's in business from a lawsuit, or if it's your own personal life, it's if there's a catastrophic incident, that you will be covered and you won't go bankrupt over it. And that is the power, that is the quantity or the amount, the value that surety brings. And you can look at it expressed in insurance premiums. But so the Fed are doing that, which is good news. I don't think the Fed should be moving rates all the time. And I don't know what the true market rate is because the Feds are always playing with it, which that's kind of an interesting thought or an interesting study to think about for you economists out there, or people that love to think about the economy and money, is what is the true interest rate of money? And what is the interest rate? It's simply the price of money. So if there was no Federal Reserve like 100 years ago, what would someone charge for borrowing money? Because right now the banks will lend money and then that is based off of a few different things, but a lot of it has to do with the Federal Reserve to tell them how much to lend money for. But if there was no Federal Reserve telling banks or individuals how much to lend money, I wonder what would you pay for a 30-year mortgage on your house? Would there be a 30-year mortgage on a house? I don't know, that's an interesting thought. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can reach out to me, let me know. I'd love to have a discussion about that with you. Something else that came out, that I read this a couple days ago, and I wanted to get to it on a previous show, but it was at the bottom of the list, and I just kept on talking too much, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing on a podcast. But it's Charlie Munger, and if you don't know who that is, he is basically the sidekick of Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway. I think he's like 100 years old now. It's pretty amazing, and he's still, from what I've heard and what I've seen, not knowing him personally, but just seeing him in interviews and things, that he's actually really functional and he's a really sharp guy still. And he says, in the article, is explaining the best career strategy for the great mass of humanity. And you know, Charlie is, I'm pretty sure, a liberal, just like Warren Buffett is. And they love telling people what to do, and they think they know the solution for everybody's life. And so that's why I wanted to read this article. I'm like, oh, so what are you going to centrally command everyone to do? And apparently this is the best career strategy for everyone. Me personally, I think that depending on your skill set, depending on your experience, depending on the opportunities that you have, not all of those things are equal for everybody. Not everyone has those same factors. There's going to be different career strategies for you, and not one person is going to be able to have the perfect strategy for everybody. And actually, Mark Cuban had a good point about that. We'll get to that in a second. I was listening to a Cuban interview. I love that guy. That guy is great. I don't always agree with him, and he's definitely kind of a centrist, not a conservative by any means. I think he's still for, I don't know if he is, or he was, for raising the minimum wage, which is terrible and just shows how much of economics he doesn't understand. But I mean, his heart's in the right place. He wants to get people off of federal subsidies, which is a good thing, but the answer is not raising minimum wage, as we talked about before. But anyways, so Charlie is giving advice, and I just love the article because it's almost like appealing to authority, right? Oh, since Charlie Munger said it, then it is true. And his advice is simply this, is to specialize in one thing. He says nobody wants to go to the doctor that's half proctologist and half dentist. I read that and I almost just spit out my tea. I think I was drinking tea at the time. And thinking about that picture, could you imagine getting your teeth cleaned and getting something to do with proctology? It's a family-friendly show. I won't go into any more detail than that. But it's the other side of your body. And that really just made me start thinking, like, is that true? Like, yeah, obviously I don't want my dentist to be a proctologist, and I don't want my proctologist to be my dentist either. Like, that's very obvious. But I don't think it's that obvious in other applications. I think that's one example where it's probably true. A doctor should be specialized, especially with how medical advancements have been coming out and how much we know and how in depth and in detail we can drill into each subject. It's impossible for one person to know everything about the body. And so we do need specialists. We do need people to focus on our teeth. We do need people to focus on our digestive system, to put it as delicately as possible. And that's a good thing, but not everything requires that much knowledge. Not every subject or profession requires that level of expertise. And that brings up a good point that I want us to remember, and this is just a truth of life. Just because there is a truth in one instance, just like the proctologist and the dentist, it doesn't mean it's true in every area of life. And I want us to remember, because I know a lot of us are in our 30s, we're just starting to have kids, or we have 3 or 4 kids. If you're like the reformed type, shout out to the reformed people out there. And as we get older, from our 30s, 40s, 50s, we get into those late 50s and 60s, we're going to remember certain things that have been true in our life. And we're going to start trying to apply that to everything to keep life simple. At least that's what I've seen with people in older age sometimes, is if it's been true in one area, they think it's true in every area in life. And that's just not how the world is. And especially when we get to that age, I'm in my 30s. So 30 years from now, when I'm in my 60s, things that are true today might not be true in 30 years, just like in the last 30 years, especially with how fast technology is evolving. And we're just not inventing things at a faster rate, but the rate at which we invent things is faster too. And it's not just that we are constantly improving and innovating and coming up with new things, but we're doing it faster than we've ever done before. So that is something that I think we should remember today and apply it, and not just take a rubber stamp and say this is a truth that works in every situation, but try to analyze and make determinations to determine if maybe there's some tweaks or critiques, or maybe it just isn't true altogether. Because I was thinking, like, it would be really cool, for an example of this, is it would be cool if your mechanic could also do the body work on your car. Like, what if you got in a car accident, you had to get the superficial stuff like a fender or bumper replaced, but you also needed to have some work done under the hood on the engine. Wouldn't it be nice just to take it to one business, one person who can take care of it and do both of those things, instead of having to go to the mechanic first and then go to the body shop? or have people that are detailers in body shops. Like there are pairs of things, and I'm sure there's more than just pairs, and there's 3 or 4 things in certain industries where if you know them, then it could be a real value proposition to people for them to come and give you business. And also, like we've talked about before, about the differentiation of bringing 2 different specialties together to create something new. I believe it was like 20 or 30 shows ago. But we were talking about, like, if you could be a programmer, but also a zoologist, and the specialty of knowing about animals, and then the specialty of coding. Well, then you can come together with what you know about animals and what you know about coding and build software for zoos, for animals, for species, for studying, for scientists, for studying the environment. That's not the word I'm really looking for, but whatever it is, like the ecosystem maybe is the word I'm looking for. Like how the study and how all these different animals and trees and stuff, they all work together and how one is dependent on the other. Some scientists, please let me know what I'm talking about because it's driving me nuts. I don't know what the word is. Again, science obviously is not one of my specialties. But there are great benefits to having people bring together different specialties and creating a new value proposition. And that's what kind of makes you unique and differentiates you from the other people out there applying for a job that you're going for. If you can take a couple different specialties and put them together and present that as a value proposition to whoever's hiring you, or creating a new business and doing creating that value proposition to potential customers. That's how you're going to get ahead and differentiate. So I don't really agree with Charlie Munger at all. And while it was true probably back in the day that you would just specialize in one thing, you'd be really good at your assembly line job, or you would be really good plumber. Technology and the digital economy that we're coming into is going to allow us to specialize in multiple things, have information at our fingertips, like Google Glass, and being able to access the internet just through your glasses. Like, we haven't heard about that from a consumer perspective in 5 or 6 years, but it turns out that there's a lot of companies doing that. I mean, that's huge. That is a great place to access information. So just my point is that there is advantages to have multiple specialties, combining them together, and the information age, the technology that we have today allows that to be so. And if it allows it to be so, that means there are people out there doing this. And if you don't do it, you could be at a disadvantage. The next article I read is funny because I read this article after, what was it, like 2 or 3 nights of not sleeping at all. I'm one of those people that wake up in the early morning, and if I wake up in the early morning, I can't go back to sleep because my mind starts racing really fast. It's not because I'm nervous or stressed, have anxiety. My mind for some reason thinks in hyper supersonic drive early in the morning, and if I wake up, it's over. I'm just up for the rest of the morning, and I can't go back to sleep, and then I'm dead tired at like 2 in the afternoon. And so it was very applicable timing for myself. And the article says, you're not getting enough sleep and it's killing you. Now, you might want to have seen this. This was based off of a TED Talk. And it was talking about all the different ways that sleep deprivation hurts people. It makes you dumber. You forget things. And man, that's so true with me. There's some people like Donald Trump. He can sleep like 4 hours a day, and that's like the legend. But if I don't get 8 hours of sleep, I feel a lot dumber and I forget things all the time. That's totally me. And then also to go on, so not just that you're dumber and you forget things, but you become more vulnerable to dementia. And you're more likely to die of a heart attack. And you're less able to fend off sickness. And you don't have as strong of an immune system. That probably goes together. You don't have a strong enough immune system, so you don't fend off sickness. You're also more likely to get cancer. And it makes your body literally hurt. It's saying that you literally feel pain more when you're not getting enough sleep. It distorts your genes, not your like Levi's, but your like genetic code, your genes. It increases your risk of death. And it disrupts other important things to be fruitful and multiply. Again, this is a family-friendly show, so I won't get into more detail than that. And apparently men who only sleep 5 hours a night have markedly smaller tools to get that job done as well. It's almost like when God says to take a Sabbath and to rest, he means it. And he's kind of built things into this world where we need to rest. And that's kind of a comfort at the same time, because that's a freedom that we have. I don't know about you, but I have a mentality where I have to work really hard. I'm always doing 3 or 4 businesses, jobs, projects at a time, because I always feel like I have to be working. And if I'm not working, I feel like somebody else is getting ahead of me. And it's a struggle for me. It's really hard for me to take time and rest. I feel like I'm falling behind. I feel like other people are going to get ahead that aren't resting and aren't taking the time to rebuild. But with this knowledge, with our understanding of how necessary sleep is, it's freeing to know that, okay, when I'm obedient to God and take a Sabbath, when I'm obedient to God and rest, I can do it for the glory of God because I'm maintaining my body that he's given me. I am being a good steward of my body. I'm not just resting for rest's sake, but even my rest is for the glory of God, because I am keeping myself from likely having dementia, from heart attacks, from being sick. I am helping my body perform the way God intended it to. And that's freeing. That allows me to be more comfortable with sitting back and relaxing and getting the rest I need, taking a Sabbath, and all of that entails. So hopefully if you're like me who feels like they have to be going all the time, that can be an encouragement to you as well. Now, as I was mentioned earlier, I was listening to a Mark Cuban interview, and I just love that guy. I mean, I don't know if it's just like we have similar personalities where we're direct, we just talk and we say what's on our mind, but just from everything I've heard about the guy, I really like him too, even though I don't agree with him all the time. And there was just 2 main points that he really touched on that I thought was just fantastic. And the first one is we need to learn the language of business. And he said that in the context of a question asked, do you need to go to school? And he said, yes, you absolutely need to go to school. And then the interviewer clarified, do you mean you need to go to school, or do you mean you need to get a bachelor's degree? And he said, you just need to be educated. You don't need a piece of paper per se. You don't need to go to the best school. It was like even community college, where you go to get an accounting, you go to your accounting class, and you go to your marketing class, and you go to the different business classes that they have. That should be good enough. And I really like that, because I'm sure you've heard me say before that the value of college is going down the tubes, and value, again, is the benefit minus the cost. And the cost has been increasing, the benefit has been going down for what a college degree provides, especially when it's for the liberal arts degrees. I'm not so much talking about STEM, the sciences, the maths, the technical trades, or whatever those are, the economics, all that stuff. I don't even, what is STEM? Well, it doesn't matter. But if you're going to school to be an engineer, that's good. But that doesn't mean you need to go to the most expensive school either. You should still be looking at cost. But that degree could be worthwhile. But I really liked what he said, because it's not all or nothing. Like, community college is a great value. Those classes are actually really affordable. You don't need to take out student loans most of the time. Hopefully you don't ever take out student loans. But go and just take an accounting class. I mean, I think they're like $300-400. You need to learn the language of business. And if you need to do that in a classroom setting where you don't have the skills, or I shouldn't say the skills, but the mindset, the drive, the passion to learn accounting on your own, then go take it at a community college. Most of those classes are really good, and all you need to learn those things. Because you do need to learn, and this is what Mark said, and I totally wholeheartedly agree. You need to learn accounting. Even if you hire someone else to be an accountant, you need to be able to understand what they're telling you. You need to know the difference between gross revenue and net revenue. You need to know the difference between cost of goods sold and your salary expense. That's all very important stuff. And if you don't understand the language, then you are going to be at a disadvantage. And then the second thing that he talks about is you need to outthink and hustle the next person. And this is just like would encapsulate why I love him so much. Or I love what he says. I don't love him personally. That's kind of creepy. You are going to start a business. You're going to go into the workplace. You're going to apply for a job. You're going to have a career. And there is going to be, most likely, unless you're really, really lucky, not going to be the only person with the product, with the skill set, or with whatever abilities that you need for whatever position you're in. If it's owning a business, starting a business, doing a startup, or in a career, going for a job application. And the two things you need to get ahead of that other person is out hustle them and outthink them. You need to continually be working harder than them, because if they have the same skills and they're working harder than you, then you're not going to win. If they have better ideas and figure out ways to exploit your weaknesses and build out their business strategy to do things you can't do, you're not going to win. You're not going to win in your career. You're going to lose that promotion. You're going to lose the job in some cases. Your business isn't going to succeed because you're not special. And I know that's like a hard thing to say, and that's probably why I'll never be a politician. You're special in the sense like you have value because you're made in God's image, but you're not unique and special in a way that no one else can do what you can do. You're not the only one who can run a specific type of business. And in fact, if you ever do become lucky enough to start a business where you're the first one to do it and you do it well and you have a big profit margin, people are going to see that and copy you and do it as well. And if you don't outthink the new entrants in the market, and if you don't continue to hustle, then you are going to lose eventually. And the last thing they said in this interview that I wanted to bring up, man, there's another article that I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow, or it's not an article, it's a business that I was reading about that just came out. We're gonna have to talk about that tomorrow because we're running out of time. So the last thing that they were talking about that is so true is when you are in business, and this is true for careers too. Don't think that this isn't for you if you're never going to start a business. If you don't have or I shouldn't say it like that. Let me say it like this. It is healthy to have a small sense of paranoia that somebody's going to come out with something you didn't think about, that someone's going to improve a product or improve a process that you've been working on that you haven't thought about, and they're going to get the spoils, if that's a promotion, a bonus, the sales, the new contract, bid on the government contracts, whatever it is. You need to have a healthy set of paranoia, because that's going to keep you thinking through, judging, critiquing what you're doing, your process, the value you're bringing, the work you're doing, and trying to make it better. If you don't have a healthy sense of paranoia, then you're going to be complacent and people are going to pass you by. So make sure you learn the language of business, and also, I should add, the language of your industry. Also, know that you need to outthink and hustle people to be successful. It doesn't guarantee you'll be successful, but it gives you the best chance. And then thirdly, have a healthy sense of paranoia that someone's out to eat your sandwich or eat your lunch, and continue to think and out hustle people to keep your lunch for yourself. All right, now we will get to that next article tomorrow, but until then, let's go out and be successful. God bless.